Hi there, welcome to this podcast from the Seaside Museum, Herne Bay. In this episode we hear from Barry Mount how he found the elephant tusks now proudly on display in the museum. So Barry Mount,
yes,
what we're going to talk about on this is your discovery of the tusks, which was a couple of years ago.
Yes, it was February the 14th, 2013, so it happened to be Valentine's Day.
Oh.
How could I forget it?
And so you were out lobster catching.
Yes, what happens, I live on the seafront, so I'm always looking for the tide to go out a long way, and it was forecast there was going to be a negative tidal surge. With a negative tidal surge and a high pressure, southwest winds and a spring tide, it was guaranteed more or less to go out a long way.
And it did?
And it did. About an hour and a half before low water, I mean there were banks uncovering that I've never seen for 10 years, so I knew it was going to go a long way, so slip on my boots and out I go lobstering.
Oh, I suppose you have...
Looking for lobsters.
Yes.
Lobsters, in the winter, as this was, they semi-hibernate, so they don't actually crawl around and go in lobster pots that we know traditionally as.
Right.
They tend to go under rocks and ledges, and they semi-hibernate there until the wood temperature reaches a certain temperature, and then they start crawling again. So in February you're guaranteed there'll be lobsters actually resting under rocks and crevices. So you go out there at very low water looking for these crevices and trying to find lobsters.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many lobsters do you tend to get on one of these?
Well, it varies, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't want to give too much away.
Do you still do it?
Yes, I still do it. As you know, we lobster fish normal traditional methods in the summer with Roger Turner.
Yes.
And in the winter I just scavenge around at low waters looking under old rocks and ledges really. If you're lucky you'll get 2 or 3. On that particular day I brought in 14 and actually left a lot out there because I couldn't carry anymore. So a successful morning.
Well, and you also got a haul of a couple of tusks.
Yes, I mean that was really interesting because going to my normal banks as I do, looking under the ledges, I then worked further eastward under new ledges which I had never seen in my lifetime, and just silhouetted on the skyline I could just make out what obviously looked like a tusk. So I waded across this like semi-lagoonal area of water, and lo and behold there wasn't just one, there were actually a pair of them in a position that looked like the animal had just sort of fallen over and died.
So they're a fair way out.
They're a fair way out, 3/4 mile offshore, in an area that I've never walked on in my life, and I'm sure not many other people had either.
So what did you do? You saw these laying there.
I saw them laying there and I thought I won't disturb them. They'd clearly been covered for obviously thousands of years. There was very little marine growth on them. So it looked like the recent storms actually uncovered a lot of the sediment and just placed them on the surface. At first I didn't touch them, I photographed them in situ because obviously I realised they were a good find. And then picked one up and then discovered it was very firm indeed. It was as if it was just come off the beach yesterday really. There's still evidence of ivory actually on part of the tusk.
Cool. So
I picked one up and just felt the weight of it. Extremely heavy, and thought, how am I going to bring these in?
Yes.
Or if indeed I bring them in.
Yes.
But I thought I will bring them in because being on the surface they may get washed further out or degenerate or whatever. But the problem was bringing them in. So I phoned Foreshore, a friend of mine at Foreshore Services. He walked out there, and just as the tide was actually lapping around them, were able to carry one each in.
Oh. And then what happens? I mean, I'm just interested in.
Yes, after that, I mean, we
details. What do you do when you
what do you do with them? I mean, I was very much aware that they've actually been exposed to air, and we need to get them into water as quickly as possible. So we took them and put them in a large bath of fresh water and submerged them in the water, and left them like that. We then contacted the museum services, which was Canterbury City Council, and they came over and had a look at them and obviously realised they were a good find. and then people got to hear about it. Then local papers started phoning up, and it just mushroomed from there.
Because they thought of mammoth.
Yeah, at first, I mean, it sounds glamorous, doesn't it, that you say you found a mammoth's tusk. But eventually it discovered, when Professor Lister from the Natural History Museum came down, he confirmed they were straight-toothed elephant of a young juvenile female, about 170,000 years old.
God.
Which at the time, thinking it was an elephant, doesn't sound so grand.
Yeah.
But as he pointed out, they're much rarer. Mammoths much later on.
Yes.
Straight-toothed elephants could be up to 400,000 to 115,000 years old. He estimated these were 170,000 years old, whereas a mammoth may be 12,000 years old.
But I notice now we've got them in the museum. They're dried out. They're not.
Yes, they were kept in clean water for 6 months and changed every week. The water was changed, and then they were taken to the Canterbury City Council museum people that actually whatever they did with them to ensure they were stable, and then put them in a controlled environment, which they are now.
Mm-hmm. And then the press interest sort of
the press interest at the time was amazing. We had I had a live interview on Radio Kent, and they also featured in the Main Times in the archaeological section. So Professor Lister himself came down to view them. He said they're extremely rare to get two. You do find the odd one, but never two. So exceptional, really. It's still online, actually. If you just put in Barry Mount Tusks in Google, you'll see the Times archaeological section with myself and Tom Hawkins, the foreshore guy, holding the tusks and that sort of thing.
Okay,
but I've got pictures of those.
Yes. But
so there's loads of links.
Thank you very much to Barry Mount. Listen out for more podcasts from the Seaside Museum, Herne Bay.